How different is career growth in startups versus MNCs? What do you think? Growth is not a speed problem, it's a stage problem. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. When you hear the word growth, what do you imagine? A higher salary, a bigger title, a better company, perhaps more respect, less insecurity? Now, here is the twist. What feels like growth at 22 often feels like stagnation at 30. And what feels like growth at 30 can feel like a trap at 38. This video is not about startups versus MNCs, it's about how growth changes meaning as you age. And why most people don't realize this until it is too late. So, the first principle is that growth is not universal. There is no single definition of growth. Growth at 21 is identity, growth at 25 is direction, growth at 30 is leverage, and 35 it is optionality. At 40, growth means freedom. If you chase the wrong type of growth at the wrong age, you will feel behind, no matter how successful you look. In the first stage, we have 20 to 23-year-old fresher first job. For this person, growth is identity. This is the phase nobody prepares you for. You are not just choosing a job, you are choosing who you are becoming. If you were to choose the startup path at this stage, you will join a startup. Within 6 months, you sit in meetings, you will be talking to customers, you will see product decisions being made. You will touch everything. And you will feel, I am learning so much. And you are learning a lot, no doubt about that. But your identity is fragile. You don't know what you are good at. You just know that you are very, very busy. Now, what happens if at this stage of your life you were to join a multinational company? You would join this large company. What would you get? You would get a defined role. You'll get training. You will be assigned a line manager who perhaps will become your mentor for life. You will be working in a system. Of course, there will be brand value on your resume, but you will feel slow. But something subtle is happening. Your identity is becoming stable. You can explain to others what you actually do. So, where is the trap in this decision? If you join a startup, you will confuse exposure with identity. If you join a multinational company, you will confuse structure with stagnation. You will feel you are not growing fast enough. Recently, a 21-year-old in a startup said to me, I do everything. A 21-year-old in an MNC said, I do one thing. The first feels cool. The second is building a foundation. Let's look at the next stage where you have somebody in the age group of 24 to 27, 1 to 3 years of experience. For this person, growth means direction. This is where anxiety starts. You look around and think, am I on the right path? If you are on the startup path, you have done many things, but now you are confused. You ask, what am I actually becoming? You don't have a direction, you have lots of stories to tell. How you met with the founders, investors, vendors, X and Y stories. However, if you are on the MNC path, you have gone deep into one system, you will feel very, very narrow, but you have direction. You know what your next step looks like. So at this stage of your career, what is the trap? If you are in a startup, you move fast but in no clear direction. If you are in an MNC, you move slowly but safely. A 25-year-old in a startup says, I have done 10 things, but I don't know what my career is. A 25-year-old in an MNC says, I have done one thing deeply, but is it really enough? Both of them are anxious, but for opposite reasons. The next stage is somebody in the 28 to 32 age group, 4 to 7 years of experience. For this person, growth is about leverage. This is where things get serious. You don't want to just work, you want influence, autonomy, control, and options. If you are on the startup path, your scope will grow. You start to manage people. You start taking decisions for the firm and driving it in a particular direction. Your influence will also grow. This will feel like growth to you. But here is the danger. If you don't convert scope into specialized leverage, you become a generalist manager who can easily be replaced. However, at this stage of your career, if you are on the MNC path, your title will grow, your responsibilities will increase, but decisions still go up the chain to your boss's boss for approval. You will grow vertically, not horizontally. So, at this stage of your career, what is the trap? For a startup, the trap is scope increases, but leverage does not. For an MNC, the trap is your title increases, but autonomy does not. A 30-year-old in a startup says this: I run many things, but I don't own anything. A 30-year-old in an MNC says, I am senior, but I don't feel powerful. Both of them are stuck. In the next stage, we have somebody in the 33 to 38 year age bracket. These are the mid-career professionals. For them, growth is defined by optionality. This is the phase nobody talks about. You don't just want growth, you want freedom. Freedom to switch your job, freedom to say no to your boss perhaps, freedom to redesign your work, freedom to step back and take some time off, freedom to explore something, maybe a passion or a hobby that you are thinking about. If you are in a startup path, if all this is done well, startups can give you independence. They can give you broad capability, confidence, and resilience. But if it's not done properly, you become dependent on chaos. Chaos eats up all your time. You're just doing firefighting. In an MNC path, if this is done well, it will give you stability. It will also give you money and obviously predictability. But if it is done poorly at this stage of your career, you become dependent on the institution and the target of the next layoff. And finding a job at this stage as a lateral hire becomes challenging for you. So what is the trap at this stage? So for the startup, trap is that high stress, low freedom. And in the MNC, at this stage of your life, you will have high comfort but low optionality, not enough options to switch outside. A 35-year-old startup veteran told me, I can't slow down, I don't know how to slow down. A 35-year-old MNC veteran tells me, I can't move, I am too locked in. Then we have people who are, let's say, 39 plus, late career, where growth is freedom. Growth isn't about salary, it's about control over time, control over work, control over pace, control over identity. You want to control things around you. If you are in a startup and if you do things well in a startup, you own your skills. You will also be allowed to own your pace, work from home, work from office. You can consult, teach, build. If it is done poorly, you are burned out completely with no safety net. If you are in an MNC and if everything goes well, you are respected. You are secure, people know you in the industry, you are stable, and if things are not done well, you have a title, but the optionality to switch and move ahead in your career is very, very poor. The big mistake people make is that they freeze their definition of growth. They assume what worked at 23 should work at 33. And that is wrong. It doesn't work like that. A lot of this sounds very confusing when you hear it because LinkedIn mixes all age groups. You compare yourself with younger people growing fast, older people who look settled. You forget they are optimizing for different things at different points in life, different stage, different years of experience. At Career Arth, the truth is that growth is not speed. Growth is fit with your stage of life. So why does startup growth feels faster? Just because there is more chaos? You have a lot of visibility, investors, founders, board members, more responsibility perhaps to get things done. But fast doesn't mean correct. And why does MNC growth feel slower? Because more structure is there. There is a hierarchy. You need more patience. But slow doesn't mean wrong. So the real question is not which grows faster, startup or MNC, but which grows the right thing for your age and your stage of career. So why do people feel they choose wrong? Because they judge past choices with present needs. And that is unfair. You don't choose wrong. You just did not update your growth model, the model I just outlined for you. Startup and MNCs are not good or bad. They are growth machines, different types of machines, designed for different stages of your career. If you use the wrong machine at the wrong time, you will feel broken. And you are not broken, you are just misaligned. At Career Arth, we don't ask which is better, MNC or startup. We ask what kind of growth do you need right now in your career? If this felt personal to you, then I'm very happy. That means you are finally asking the right question. Where are you in your growth cycle? Is it early stage, early professional, mid stage, senior professional? Where exactly are you? And what is your definition of growth? How are you dealing with this challenge of defining the growth and identifying what you should do next in your career? And that is what we are interested in knowing from you. Do comment, let me know what you think. As always, clarity होगा तो growth होगा तो career होगा, ये हमारा आपका वादा है.